And today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite therapeutic diets called the Ubiotic diet. And I think I've done a couple videos about it, but I want to tie it into weight loss and how I find that it's very useful to kickstart a dietary evolution, weight loss journey, all that sort of thing. Now, weight loss can be very, troubling or difficult for a lot of people because they will find that they're trying so many different things and some things work temporarily and then they gain the weight back. Other times they're like, I'm doing everything. I'm counting my macros. I'm exercising. I'm not eating late. I'm intermittent fasting. They're doing all the different common techniques and they maybe lose 2 pounds. So these are situations when you got to go a little bit deeper and figure out what might have shifted in their gut, their terrain, or their metabolism that is preventing their body from shedding weight. Because holding on to weight, having a higher body mass, there's reasons for it outside of just calories consumed or high carb diet. There's a lot of other factors going in. Yeah, sometimes the thyroid can be sluggish. That is often one option. I almost fell off my chair. Cortisol being high, that is another big one. But the terrain, the gut terrain, is maybe at times the ignored culprit. Most people who have obesity or they're overweight, they always have gut issues, whether they recognize it or acknowledge it or aware of it. They always have bloating. That I've yet to meet someone who's overweight, truly overweight, that does not also complain of bloating. Now, the two can kind of be confused or merged over each other because if they're coming in with a distended abdomen, they'll be like, I got to lose this. But when I go and I feel their stomach, it's hard. So if you know much about fat, it's not that hard. It's pretty squishy, actually. So when I pinch and I'm feeling, yeah, there's a little bit of fat, but there's a lot of air. It's like a beach ball has been blown up in there. And I'll ask them, I'm like, in the morning, how do you look? And they're like, well, my stomach's pretty flat, to be honest. And then by the end of the day, I look like I'm 8 months pregnant. So that's one indicator that part of your weight gain might actually be tied into a suboptimal gut terrain. And really by the terrain, we're looking at the variety and spectrum of good and bad bacteria. Most likely they've got yeast overgrowth. Sometimes they've got actual bacterial infection in their gut. It's not uncommon for people to have H. pylori or C. difficile in a very low grade where it's not actively bothering them. And that we know this because when we do stool analysis, a comprehensive type of stool analysis, not just the type that's like a occult blood screen and not just like sort of basic like macroscopic parasite evaluation where it's like, I don't see it. Like, when you do a stool, if you have like, you were on vacation, you came back, you got loose stool for a week or two, your doctor might say, okay, let's do a parasite thing just to make sure. It's probably not. Outside of that, those tests, they're not going to be picking up low-grade infections. And this is very common because the gut is kind of a closed system in a lot of ways. The immune activity is somewhat restricted. So if you got it's an environment that is hospitable to bacteria in general. So who's to say that one bug is not better or worse than the other? And so what we're looking at is a shift in the makeup of the terrain, meaning the pH, the level of acidity versus like sugar load, the diet, inflammatory markers. These are all things that can change the qualities of the gut internal terrain, which will shift the growth of bacteria towards non-commensal or malignant type of bacteria away from the good beneficial bacteria that is supposed to be there when you're feeling good. If you got regular bowel movements, you're not having any type of skin irritations, you're not having weird cravings, you're regular, you're not having bloating, you don't have foul odor, it means that you most likely have a pretty good bacterial balance. And if you're not, if you are having any of those symptoms that I mentioned, plus the weight gain, then it's time to look at cleansing your gut. So this is one of those catchphrases. A lot of people will be like, I want to do a detox. I want to do a cleanse. I usually tell people cleanses like that they're thinking of is for healthy people. I would never put someone who's not feeling well on a detox. At least not what they're thinking or what comes to mind when they say a detox. Some people will be like, well, I just drank this like kind of like a concoction I made at home, and over the weekend I just spent the whole weekend like purging, and I feel better. I felt horrible. I felt like I had the flu. So I don't like that. Detoxes are for healthy people. What you're looking for, if you're in that category that you need a change, I would recommend that stool analysis, because that would really kind of like, if there is something acutely infectious that needs an antibiotic or needs like a strong antimicrobial, you would want to know. A good prebiotic and a good probiotic are definitely on order. MS Prebiotic is a wonderful digestive resistant starch. It comes from potato. So before you go, oh, I can't eat potatoes, you don't digest this starch. It is a fabulous fiber, which is the fuel for the good bacteria. So by consuming this digestive resistant starch, this prebiotic, you will be promoting the growth of good bacteria in your gut. You will find that you become regular, that the bloating will decrease, that you actually will start to feel satiated after you eat, and your cravings for carbohydrates will drop. Now, a prebiotic doing that implies that in some way that cravings are tied into your gut. If you consume sugar on a regular basis, and it's not to judge anybody, some people like treats, I like treats, but if you get in the habit, now when I was younger, I used to have a double, 2 cream, 2 sugar in my coffee. Don't ask me why. I never even used to drink coffee. And then I think someone brought it to me, and I must have had a long day at work. I didn't have a lunch, and that went down really good. And then the next time they came in, they brought it in. And then I found myself buying 2 a day. And then and people, they would be like, you're a natural, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I stopped it. Oh, MS Prebiotic just like my reel. That's a coincidence. Not sponsored. Let's see. So when you realize that sugar is an addiction, and the way it's an addiction is not necessarily through like neurotransmitters and that feel-good thing. What it seems to be doing is shifting the bacterial load towards the type of bacteria that likes sugar, that likes doubles. When you have an increased sugar consumption, you're promoting the growth of bacteria that likes high sugar. So it's coming in a much higher volume. you're selectively choosing to give them food. You're promoting their growth of the bad ones. The bad ones are going to make you feel icky, irregular stools, bloated, and then the weight gain seems to be a corollary of increased sugar intake. So if a bug inside you wants more sugar, you're going to have more sugar. You're going to be absorbing those calories, but you're going to be feeding into this bug. And then that bug's going to replicate and it's going to grow more. And then there's more of those bugs that want that same kind of sugar. And something happens that you end up getting that treat more and more and more and more. And then once you realize it's wrong, you cut it out, you go cold turkey, and then you reintroduce it and you taste it. I remember the first time I had a double after a year. I'm tasting it. I'm like, oh gosh, what is this garbage? I used to drink this. Your taste changes. Your taste buds, your likes, your satisfaction, it changes. It no longer hits the spot. If anything, it just like, this. Now I remember why I don't have these things. And I actually see a lot of kids. They have these. If they're not having, coffee, they're loaded with sugar. They're having these sweet drinks. They're having these energy drinks, these pops, these like all this garbage that's out there. And I am seeing a lot of kids coming in with like skin infections, with chronic like viral infections. They keep getting sick. Stuff that like requires antibiotics. And the thing that stands out most is that their sugar intake is enormous. So I'm going to pause here because I got a delivery. I'm going to work this in, and then I'm going to continue this. Oh, it's pretty heavy. I think it's 400 pounds, but it's on wheels, so it'll work its way up the stairs somehow. Where was I? Now, I think I was talking about bacteria in your gut and doubles. And when you realize it's what you're eating is shifting your gut health, and then that change in gut health is now influencing your dietary choices. This kind of frames weight, obesity, diet, healthy lifestyle. It just puts a different spin on it because some components of it they're seemingly subconscious, or people don't recognize. It's like my choices, I don't see the impact it has. Like if I have this one donut, is it going to make me overweight? Probably not. But what if I haven't eaten all day and I have this donut? And then that become a habit of like, well, this donut, it's only like 300 calories. I mean, if I had breakfast and lunch, that would be already almost 1,000 calories. So I'm eating way less calories. Why am I gaining weight? So now it kind of flips the script on like calories in, calories out. Now it looks at the importance of the makeup of the food. Is there protein? Is there healthy fats? How much volume of carbohydrates are coming in? What's the glycemic load of these carbohydrates? And what's the impact on your gut health once you consume these? And that's where people get frustrated because they're like, I'm eating less than everyone else around me, but I'm gaining weight. Well, this shift in gut health, gut immunity, and bacterial load is directly changing your metabolism. If anything, it's shutting it down. So a prebiotic and a good probiotic are in order. And the probiotics, there are so many. And that's another conversation, another debate, whether it's like morning, evenings, with food, without food, 10 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion, 300 billion, lacto this and bacillus that. I usually tell people, get a good one, use it, refill it in a month, take a break, then get another brand, different strain, different combination, higher CFU, lower CFU. Keep mixing it up Because I think sometimes you can get used to just taking the same probiotic over and over. And it's not that it's bad, but after a while, the idea is like a probiotic is inoculating your gut health. It's implanting. It's like putting seeds in a garden. You keep putting seeds. I mean, after a while, you don't keep putting seeds every day. You water it. The seeds are already in there. So the probiotics are kind of like seeding. So after a while, they should be implanted in a sense, metaphorically speaking. And you need to cultivate. You need to feed the plant. That's where the prebiotic comes in. Now, if you do have bacterial overgrowth or yeast or in a type of mild infection, excuse me, antimicrobials are usually where I would aim. I would do one of the candibactins, AR and BR. There's a good protocol where you kind of alternate the two to kill off whether it's H. pylori in a very low grade, higher grade, probably need an antibiotic. Not necessarily, but it's harder. You have to be really diligent. You have to have a good protocol. But milder infections, SIBO, just general gut rot, the candibactins are a good combo. There's a lot of other formulas out there, but something like with the, I'm not going to get into the ingredients, but we can talk. If you want to know, ask me directly. So that's supplements. But what about what do you eat now? How do you change your diet? Where does your diet evolve to? And when someone's coming in for weight loss and maybe some gut health issues, I will start them, if possible, on the Ubiotic diet. And the Ubiotic diet is a short-term diet. I usually say 7 to 14 days. You're lucky if you make it to the 7th day. If you're really, really gung-ho, you'll get to the 14th. I've had someone do it for 30 days. I think that's a bit long. The reason being is that you're eating chicken, fish, brown rice, and some vegetables. And that's pretty much it. No fruit, no other carbs or starches, there's no red meat, theoretically. A lot of the typical vegetables like tomatoes and like those nightshades, those are out too. Definitely no dairy or gluten, of course. So eggs are allowed. There's a few other little nuances. I have a eubiotic diet I'm happy to share I'll make a link on my Instagram and other social medias where you can just download it. I got it for free. I'm happy to share it with anyone. But it's a therapeutic diet because it's not something you just adopt because you're bored. The key is that you have to make sure that you're eating enough. It's not a diet to restrict your calorie intake. If anything, you're going to eat more. And usually that's the case. Usually I get people to increase their caloric intake, but it's what they're eating. So the carbohydrate component's way down in general. Part 3, so many interruptions, but it must be a good talk because I keep getting cut into. So yes, the eubiotic, the key is make sure you're having enough calories, but you're going to be eating a lot of chicken and fish and rice for a week or so. Okay, so what's the point of it? It's not because all the other foods are bad, but this being a therapeutic diet, what we need to do is to starve the bad bacteria in the gut of its typical fuel sources, which is like starches and carbs. So anything that's got a glycemic load that's going to feed into this bacteria, you got to like really clamp down on it. And that's why brown rice typically is the rice of choice. Now, it's not because brown rice is the healthiest rice or the best carb. It's nothing to do with that. And it's nothing to do with what's the best foods. It has to do with the sugar load. And that's why it's temporary. Because after that week or two, we bring back some fruit, red meat, various other vegetables, and we just and maybe a couple starches here and there, and we see how your gut handles it. The feedback on the eubiotic diet is that people lose weight, they feel more clear in their head, they don't feel bloated, their tummy is flat, and it over time regulates their gut. They feel like they go to the washroom better. So with those other supplements and this therapeutic diet, we repair some of the gut foundational issues that lend itself to maintaining and having excess weight. You can't lose weight, clean up your gut. Ubiotic diet. All right, we'll stop there.